Hi there, everyone. It's Simon Walton here, the chair of the Campaign for Borders Rail. Sorry I can't be there with you in person, but I do have an update on what the campaign's been up to recently, and I hope this will be of interest to you. Um, Let me start by saying that the campaign's been working very hard to stress the uh, several benefits of extending the Borders Railway onwards through Howick and on to Carlisle. It's not just something which will benefit the communities in the borders. Indeed, it's not something which will just benefit the borderlands region. It's something which will be a national asset, affecting positively the whole UK network. Um, you don't need me to tell you that what happens in Elgin can affect what happens in Exeter, and that by adding the extra capacity of an additional cross-border route, which the Borders Railway of course would be when completed, that is a strategic strength for the national rail network, and that works for both passenger and freight as well. I'll come back to this in just a moment, but I have a few other things that I want to tell you about before we come to that. Starting with something which, if you've been in Howick, you may well have seen on the high street, that we've actually got a shop front on the high street there. Now, this is partly due to having Scottish Borders Council represented on the campaigns committee, but nonetheless we've managed to secure, as long as no paying tenant comes along, a shop front on the high street where we've put a display out, and I have to take my hat off to Marion Short, the vice chair of the campaign, who's based in Howick and has worked incredibly hard, along with other members of the committee as well, to make this happen. And so, once again, it's something which I've had absolutely no input to whatsoever, but I'm sitting here taking the full credit for. Grossly unfair to those who've been involved, Lorna and Shona and Marion and Richard too, who's provided a cracking little rail exhibition there. Now, you may well have seen, and I'm sure that several of you have in fact got a copy of the campaign's commemorative DVD set. This came about from an idea because we were obviously unable to host our AGM last October. Now, it was quite an important year for the campaign last year, coming up on the 21st anniversary of the campaign, the 5th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, and indeed the 50th anniversary of the closing of the railway. All of these things coming together, and we were unable to physically commemorate any of them. But working with Stuart Cameron, who's a TV producer, works a lot in the borders and is based in the borders, we were able to put together an idea that's been floating around for some time and culminated in this commemorative 5 DVD set, which includes a brand new hour-long documentary all about the making and the running and the future of the Borders Railway, as well as a redux of Stuart's comprehensive documentary series on the building of the Borders Railway, and quite uniquely, for the first time ever, a cab ride all the way from Tweedbank to Waverley, and then back at high speed London to Brighton style as well. And that's been an incredibly useful merchandise, fundraising and marketing tool for the campaign, and it continues to sell very well, I'm very glad to say. I am very glad to say, because Stuart told me it would take maybe a day out of my life to contribute to it, and it took nearly a month out of my life to contribute to it. So thank you for that, Stuart. That's 29 days of my life I'll never get back. Hey, every one of them well spent, I have to say. It was really good fun to do it, and I really enjoyed interviewing anybody that's involved with the railway then, now and in the future, from Alec Haynes, the Managing Director of ScotRail, to Michael Matheson, the Transport Secretary at Holyrood, to people involved in the railway, and indeed the very first driver of the very first train. Some of you may have been lucky enough to get a golden ticket to travel on that very first train back in September 2015. I know I wasn't, but I was standing in the back of my garden waving to it as it went by. I lived in Fountain Hall at the time, and I'd still like to see a train station in Fountain Hall. But, well, talking of new stations, congratulations to those in East Linton, in East Lothian, who are seeing Renton Station taking shape. That's incredibly good news. East Linton, of course, being next on the list, and indeed there must be many happy faces around the East Neuk of Fife, where the Leavenmouth line will very soon start to be resurrected. And there are many other projects, of course, around the country in the reversing beaching programme. The less said of which, the better, since I think everyone knows my feelings on that era in our history. I can just sum it up by saying civic vandalism like never before, and hopefully never seen again. But certainly a few dates to remember, that's for sure. And a few dates in the calendar that we produced for the very first time for the campaign this year. That not only sold out, but we reprinted, and that sold out as well. In fact, we were down to the last 20-odd copies of the calendar, so we decided, since it was the middle of January, we'd put them on sale. They sold out faster than a Take That concert at Wembley Stadium. 24 calendars gone in 24 seconds, which shows that there's a few people out there who spy a bargain when they see it. Nevertheless, it's been a very, very useful tool for engaging with members and potential members, and membership of the campaign does continue to grow. I'm delighted to say that it's more than 10 times the size that it was when I first joined 7.5 years ago, and that's testament to both the popularity of the railway and the feeling within the community at large. And I say the community at large because we have members, well, all over the UK, and indeed many international members as well, who have a real feeling for the Borders Railway and what it could do to regenerate the community, which is what we're all about: regenerating business, regenerating and reconnecting society, and doing so in an environmentally sustainable way. It isn't a railway for railway's sake that we seek. It's a railway which facilitates all these things and will bring so many other collateral benefits, something which I think is often overlooked when railway projects are considered. And I hope that that's something that the Campaign for Borders Rail has done a good deal to change those attitudes amongst stakeholders. We've certainly done very well in engaging stakeholders on the other side of the border. Carlisle and Cumbria are now very much behind extension of the Borders Railway, and it's not just the communities on the other side of the border, it's the communities at large. You'll obviously know about the Union Connectivity Review, something of course which we've engaged with because it does make, as I've said, excellent sense to have another cross-border link to give more capacity to the network at large. And that's something which it's not just the campaign that's saying, so this has been recognised on a much wider level. The High Speed Rail Group, which broadly speaking is an amalgam of commercial stakeholders and businesses and subnational organisations that have a part to play in the HS2 project. They've come out and said that one of the prime projects that need to be completed to extract the best return on investment from HS2 is the completion of the Borders Railway. Now, they do have their own agenda in that respect, in that they need to see slower traffic, particularly freight, come off the West Coast main line, so that the additional traffic that will be generated by HS2 going all the way to Edinburgh and Glasgow via the West Coast main line can have a clear run, and that additional capacity can be added. Of course, there will be some challenges in rebuilding and reconstructing the Waverley route as was, which I will say is the campaign's preferred position, in that we believe that the most economically viable way to bring the spine of a public transport network back to the borders and the borders as a whole is to reconstruct as much as possible of the existing Solum. We know, of course, that's not going to be possible within the city of Carlisle, not without going straight through the operating theatre of Carlisle Hospital for starters. So we've identified a route through Longtown and the Ministry of Defence land there, which already has a moribund but still laid branch line, which branches off the West Coast main line just north of Carlisle. But there will be other challenges as well, not least of which, of course, the securing of Whitrup Tunnel, which actually brought some interest from quite afar. I was in my one of my other capacities, one of my journalistic capacities, in touch with a company called Headlight Artificial Intelligence, Headlight AI, from London, who are developing, well, they call it the Prometheus Project. If anyone's seen the Ridley Scott movie, you'll have seen these spherical survey devices that fly off on their own and survey the alien spaceship remotely. Well, there's no alien spaceships involved, but they really are developing remote drone technology that can do just that in a subterranean setting. So the chances are that at some point, Headlight AI will get the opportunity to survey Whitrup Tunnel. Certainly, if we have anything to do with it, that's something that we're aiming for as well. I've already mentioned my delight about seeing other rail projects getting underway elsewhere in the country. I certainly hope it won't be too long before work gets underway in the borders as we go on through Hoyk and on to Carlisle. I know it's a big ask, and I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again, that even if the cost were £1 billion for 66 miles of new mainline track, that would be about 880 yards of Crossrail, or about 3 sleepers of HS2, were it not slab track, of course. But you get my point. It's value for money, and that's something which I think is going to be more and more important in the years to come. Just one final mention for my day job, which is journalism in the main and communications in general, but many of you will know that I am the UK correspondent for RailFreight.com, which, as it says, covers rail freight both here in the UK and worldwide, and I often get to write about international trade as well, and I frequently get involved in European matters, and I've something to sign off with, which is a little bit of a gift. If you have any interest at all in the development of the railways in future, there's an annual conference, which is usually an expensive, paid for physical event held in continental Europe. So it can be quite prohibitively expensive to get to. But railtechlive.com this year will give you the opportunity to attend, along with thousands of delegates from around Europe, to speak about matters of indeed rail future. So if you follow railtechlive.com, you can register, and don't tell anyone I told you, but you can register for free. And that's at the end of this month, the last 2 days of March and the first day of April. Lots of sessions. You don't need to sit in front of your screen for 72 hours. I know some of you will. I know I certainly will be. But then again, I am taking part in it. But there are dozens of sessions, and something for all the family, which indeed is what the completed Borders Railway will be, and is indeed what the campaign for Borders Rail is all about. So once again, enjoy the meeting. I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but thanks very much indeed for this opportunity to update you on the latest news and the latest activity from the campaign for Borders Rail. Thank you.